Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is my first video of the year. This is very exciting, and if you're new here, thank you so much for stopping by. I really hope that you will enjoy this video and you will enjoy my company. If you're not new, thank you for coming back to me. In this video, we are going to dive into the Italian verbs a little bit further. Let's get into it. Before I start this video though, please let me know that you appreciate it by leaving a like, commenting down below if you have any questions. Let's get into the good stuff. So some time ago I uploaded a video about the Italian verbs, and so far we've only gone through the present tense and the passato prossimo, which is one of the past tenses in Italian. But when I went through the conjugation of especially the present tense, I left out a subgroup of verbs, and for a reason. It's because at the beginning, when you have a lot of information to memorize, it can get a little bit overwhelming, so I decided to break it up this way. In this video, we are going to be talking about a subgroup of verbs, part of the verbs that end in ire, so what we called as the third group of verbs. And this subgroup has a special conjugation. Namely, this group utilizes a suffix after the root of the verb and before the personal suffix, so the suffix that indicates the subject of the verb. The suffix that the verbs that we're talking about use is the suffix isk or ish, depending, so I-S-C. This suffix is used by most forms of the verb. So not all subjects, let's say, use this suffix. And this is interesting because this is where this group of verbs connects with the irregular verbs. As I said in the video about verbs, there are regular and irregular verbs. And irregular verbs, even though they're called irregular, they have some regularity in the irregularities. It sounds like a very philosophical and abstract concept, but actually no. It's very, very simple and very concrete. Basically, the forms of the verbs that are irregular the most often are the singular forms, so I, you, he or she, and the third person plural. This is probably the most irregular irregularity. There was a long way to say one very simple thing. The ISC suffix that goes between the root of the verb and the personal suffix is used first, second, and third person singular and at the third person plural. But one more thing before I start giving examples. I said the suffix ISC can be pronounced as isk or ish. Well, for those of you who already know the phonetical rules of Italian, this is going to be pretty easy. But for those of you who don't know, pay close attention. So in Italian, we have 5 different vowels, 3 of which are strong vowels and 2 are weak. The vowels A, O, and U are the strong vowels, and the vowels E and I are the weak vowels. These 2 types of vowels have different influences on what surrounds them, especially if what surrounds them are consonants like C or a G. So C and G will change their pronunciation. It can be hard, so K and G, and it could be soft, so Ch and J. Please note, we'd never pronounce the letter C as S. That's the S. And so the consonants will use their hard sound when they are preceding a strong vowel. So A, O, or U. So we'll have Ka, Ko, Ku, or Ga, Go, Gu. And they adopt their softer sound when they precede a weak vowel. So they will become Che and Chi and J and G. So the same thing happens when we have the consonant cluster of S and C, which could sound as sk if it precedes a strong vowel again, and sh if it precedes a weak vowel. This is important for the conjugation of these verbs, of all verbs really. Let's take the irregular conjugation of the third group of verbs, so the verbs that end in ire. I'll give you an example. I'll conjugate a very, very regular verb, partire, to leave or to depart. Io parto, tu parti, lui, lei parte, noi partiamo, voi partite, loro partono. So the solution to all of these things that I told you now is inserting the ISC and choosing the right pronunciation depending on the vowel of the suffix. One good example of a verb that uses the suffix is capire, to understand, which is a verb that is going to be very, very useful to you when you are traveling, for example, or just in everyday life. Capire, to understand. We will say io capisco, tu capisci, lui, lei capisce. And then at the plural forms, first and second person plural are always the most regular. So we will have noi capiamo and voi capite and loro capiscono. There are a lot of these verbs and you can find lists of verbs that use this suffix everywhere on the internet and very, very easily, but I am going to give you a few more examples. We have annuire, to nod. Io annuisco, tu annuisci, lui annuisce, noi annuiamo, voi annuite e loro annuiscono. We have definire, to define. We have finire, to finish. We have infastidire, to bother. Io infastidisco, tu infastidisci, and so on and so forth. We have obbedire, to obey. Io obbedisco, tu obbedisci, lui obbedisce, noi obbediamo, voi obbedite, loro obbediscono. We have pulire, to clean. We have sostituire, to substitute. We have trasferire, to transfer or to move. We have unire, to unite or to join. So as you can see, there are a lot of different verbs that are very, very common. So all of this being said, I would like to add one last thing. This suffix is used mostly at the present tense. Okay, when we change tense, we are not gonna see it anymore. I'll give you a few sentences. And these are also sentences that can be useful in everyday life. Again, if you're traveling to Italy, for example. Let's say you are in a situation where you are talking to an Italian and that Italian is speaking too fast, which happens very often. You could say, I'm sorry, I don't understand. Scusa, non capisco. Can you repeat? Puoi ripetere? Or maybe you are living in Italy for a while and you have to change house for some reason. Maybe you're staying at an Airbnb and then you have to change. You can say mi devo trasferire. You can say I am going to move tomorrow. Mi trasferisco domani. Or she's going to move tomorrow. Lei si trasferisce domani. Or maybe you're talking to your nonna and she's teaching you how to iron clothes because it's a real thing. And she tells you to humidify the shirt. She could say, inumidisci la camicia, which actually reminded me, haha, the present tense of the indicative is not the only case where we have to use the ISC suffix, but also the imperative that we're gonna get into a little bit further. I think if you are in doubt, if you're not sure if you should use it or not, I always suggest you look it up because there's no way to know really what verbs use the suffix and what verbs don't use it. One more thing. Today's homework for you is to write down in the comments 3 sentences using these verbs. I would appreciate it if you used it with different subjects. Okay, it's starting to get very, very noisy around here, but anyway, I have decided that from now on, my conclusions are gonna be, my endings are gonna be in Italian, so Here you go. Eccoci dunque alla fine di questo video. Spero che questo video sia stato interessante, sia stato utile e che abbiate imparato qualcosa. Detto questo, se vi è piaciuto il video, di nuovo lasciate un mi piace, commentate se avete qualsiasi domanda. Vi auguro una buonissima giornata e noi ci vediamo presto, ok? Ciao ragazzi!